Yes. Charadha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivrajapacharya, Ashtotra Shatashishamaz Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahamsa, Parivrajapacharya, Ashtotra Shatashishamaz Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. Thank you. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, titled Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 3 talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. We're on text 24. Tate niriksho napitapi deha krid Daksho mama dvitadanu vrataschaye Yo vishvasarg yagyagatam varorumam Anagasam durvachasa karotiraha Tate niriksho napitapi deha krit Daksha mama dvitaranand vritaschaye Yo visvasvigyagatam varorumam Nagasam durvachasakarottiraha Tate niriksho napatapi deha krid Daksha mama dvitaranu vrataschaye Yo Visvasrigyagagatam Varorumam Anagasam Durvachasakarottiraha. Tat. Therefore, te, your, nirikshayaha, to be seen, na, not, pita, your father, api, although, dehakrit, the giver of your body, dakshaha, daksha, mama, my, tvit, envious, tat anuvrataha, his, Daksha's followers. Cha, also. Ye, who. Yaha, who. Daksha. Vishvasrik, of the Vishvasriks. Yagyagatam, being present at the sacrifice. Vada uru, o sati. Mam, me. Anagasam, being innocent, Dorvachasa, with cruel words, Akorotiraha, has insulted. Translation. Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. Purport. For a woman, both the husband and the father are equally worshipful. The husband is the protector of a woman during her youthful life, whereas the father is her protector during her childhood. Thus both are worshipful, but especially the father, because he is the giver of the body. Lord Shiva reminded Sati, your father is undoubtedly worshipful, even more than I am, but take care. For although he is the giver of your body, he may also be the taker of your body, because when you see your father, because of your association with me, he may insult you. An insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. Alright, I'll read the next text. Yadi vrajisyasyati haya madvacho badram bhavadyana tato bhavishyati. Sambhavitasya sojanat parabhavo yada sadyo maranaya kalpate. If in spite of this instruction you decide to go, neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. You are most respectable, and when you're insulted by your relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 3rd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Talks Between Lord Shiva and Sati. So tomorrow is chapter 4. She's going to start crying to Lord Shiva, weeping, with the idea of going, pleading with him. Om Meganativanandasya Gananjana Shalakya Chakshalavitamya Tasma Shigavinam Kumkuvachalam Pamamagate Yunam Yakibatamaham Pandeshi Ganantam Vancha Kapudavasha Kivasanavevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauda Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll read the translation again. Therefore you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he insults me with cruel words, although I am innocent. If in spite of this instruction you decide to go neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. You are most respectable, and when you are insulted by your relative, this insult will immediately be equal to death. It's interesting, she still goes. She still goes. So Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport, you notice how nice the podium is when it's gone. It's actually really nice in relation to this. The podium's getting stained right now, so it matches a new Vyasasan. The Vyasasan is done. It just has to, they're just working on the upholstery part of it. So the wood part's done, just the upholstery. So I don't know, maybe a week. So Prabhupada mentions that naturally for the woman in real human society or in traditional human society, that the woman has 2 shelters. One is the father while she is in her childhood, and 2 is the husband while she is in her youthful life, Prabhupada says. So within Krishna consciousness, or within the culture of the Bhagavatam, there's this idea of shelter. We have to accept shelter, and shelter means we have to accept someone, not something. Not that we accept shelter by whatever, buying a 24-pack of beer or something. That's not how we. We're talking about someone. We're not talking about something, some substance or something. Like my mother, there's all these stupid crime. These stupid crime means foolish crime, crimes that happen. My mother was telling me there was this guy in Florida recently, and he's a big guy, He had a shirt. It says, "This guy needs beer." That was on the shirt. So he goes to, it's late at night, and he goes to the local Dollar Tree. So Dollar Tree means, for those of you who aren't familiar, maybe it just means the store that everything's $1. So you go in there, the whole store, everything's $1. So he goes to that store at night, and he breaks in the store. And then he breaks in, he goes in, and he goes to steal something. So then they catch him on camera later, and they see what he stole. And what he got is he got 2 24-packs of beer. It said the shirt, this guy needs beer, And then he got away. The cops came late. They didn't catch him. So then, 2 weeks later, the same guy comes back to the store, and it's during the daytime, and the guy's wearing the same shirt. This guy needs beer shirt. And this guy, by the way, he stole the most cheap beer. And he was a kind of strange guy. So he goes back during the day, and then everybody's kind of recognizing him. Oh, that was the guy in the camp, and he's wearing the same shirt. That's good. So then they call the cops, and they come, and the cops, they catch him, and they're seeing if he stole anything else. And he did steal something else. You know what he stole? No, not chip, but something stupid like that. He's told smoked sausages, you know. Yes. Anyways, stupid, foolish crimes. So the guy, he was trying to take shelter, right, of beer. He's trying to take shelter of beer. So everybody, they have some type of shelter. They're trying to take shelter of something. Means that they're trying to take shelter of the stormy material existence, you know, a lot of pain and suffering. They're trying to alleviate it by different means. So, but when we say taking shelter, we mean we have to take shelter of someone. And that someone, of course, nowadays, if we say, oh, someone's superior, then that's a problem. You know, people don't like that generally. But that's understanding. Somebody superior means somebody with superior than us in terms of spiritual qualifications, intelligence, in so many different ways they could be superior to us. I mean, naturally, actually, like, you know, somebody's superior to me, and in so many regards, right? In running, somebody's superior than me. In mathematics, I was horrible in mathematics. I still am, by the way. So don't ask me for help with your math problems. So in many ways, people are superior than me. So it's just natural. That's just natural, unless we're yeah, it's absolutely natural. So, and when we say that somebody's superior, yes, we have to find somebody, take shelter. But what does that shelter mean? It means following their instructions, or else it's simply cheap, superficial, and we're actually not taking shelter. It's in name only. We're taking shelter. Now, in the particular time we live in, particular age, Kali Yuga, particular time we're in now, it's actually very difficult for people to take shelter of somebody else. Why? Because people are faithless. People are faithless. People do not have trust in others. And aside from that, people are arrogant and proud. So faithlessness is there, and don't have trust, which is more or less the same as faith, trust in something. But they think they're superior to others. Means that, in other words, I do not need to take shelter of anybody because I'm just as good as anybody else. And maybe I'm even better. Maybe they should come take shelter from me, you know. In other words, they think they're intelligence superior and so on. So for somebody who's aspiring to be Krishna conscious, they have to rise beyond this nonsense, rise beyond this misconception, rise beyond this false ego. Why? Because the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, which, by the way, if we're followers of Srila Prabhupada, then it means we follow his statements, we accept his statements as factual, as truth. Srila Prabhupada said that the spiritual master is given unlimited intelligence to guide the disciple. So that's Srila Prabhupada's statement. Unlimited intelligence. So yeah, we have to give up our mental concoctions, cast them away, and then accept the shelter, the guidance of devotees. And then we save ourselves so much trouble. Just like Shiva here, he's superior than Sati. He's in position, he's superior, he's the husband, and just by his very nature, he's superior. And he's telling her, do not go there, it's going to be bad for you. It's going to be worse than death. And actually it's going to turn into that, suicide. She's going to commit suicide. So, but she didn't listen. She didn't listen. So she could have saved herself so much trouble. Now, there's this idea, because somehow or other, devotees sometimes have a hard time understanding this idea of the spiritual master, because they have so many different ideas. about the spiritual master. And nowhere that I've read anywhere, unless somebody wants to show me otherwise, that the spiritual master means the Diksha Guru is supposed to be one's personal, tutor, and always there with them, and so on, which is sometimes an idea within devotees' minds, that I don't get enough association with my spiritual master. And of course, there's so many quotes. Prabhupada himself, he says, well, how many times did he spend with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Maybe 10, 11 times. That was it. Throughout his whole life. So, in other words, we cast all these ideas, our own ideas, on what is a spiritual master supposed to be like, rather than referring to Shastra. And sometimes we may even misquote scripture. For example, devotees sometimes say, they bring up this point, oh, so-and-so has so many disciples. And they claim that to be, like, not good. Like, not authentic, not good, wrong, even. Why? Because if you have so many disciples, how can you train all of them? But looking back at our own founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, which, by the way, we are followers of him in every respect, he himself, of course, he wanted to train all of his disciples as far as possible, but in terms of personal training, hardly Prabhupada did that. I mean, there's a case with His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami that Maharaj was wanting to go preach in China, and then Prabhupada told him no a few times because of different reasons. But then at one point Prabhupada said, I just want you to stay with me, because I just want to personally train at least one person. So that was Prabhupada's point. He wants to train one person. So Prabhupada wasn't training personally so many devotees, because he can't. It's not possible. So this idea of having too many disciples, devotees sometimes quote the Nectar Devotion. So I have the book here. And I'll just read a little bit about what Prabhupada says about accepting too many disciples. So he says, in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, 13th chapter, verse 8, Narada Muni, while discussing with Maharaj Yudhishthira the various functions of the different orders in society, especially mentions rules for the sannyasis, those persons who have renounced this material world. One who has accepted the sannyas order of life is forbidden to accept as a disciple anyone who is not fit. Oh, there it is, right? A sannyasi should first of all examine whether a prospective student is sincerely seeking Krishna consciousness. If he is not, he should not be accepted. So this is sometimes the criticism or the fault that devotees find. Oh, so and so has accepted so many disciples. How are those people so sincere? How can they all be so sincere? How can he train these people? And they may even see the faults of the disciples. Oh, they have no philosophical understanding, etc., right? And this is what Prabhupada says. The guru should not accept them. Right? This is what it says. But he goes on. If he is not, he should not be accepted. However, Lord Chaitanya's causeless mercy is such that he has advised all bona fide spiritual masters to speak about Krishna consciousness everywhere. Therefore, in the line of Lord Chaitanya, even the sannyasis can speak about Krishna consciousness everywhere, and if someone is seriously inclined to become a disciple, the sannyasi always accepts him. The one point is that without increasing the number of disciples, there is no propagation of the cult of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, sometimes even at risk, so this is the point, sometimes even at risk, a sannyasi in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may accept even a person who is not thoroughly fit to become a disciple. So that's probably most people. Later on, by the mercy of such a bona fide spiritual master, the disciple is gradually elevated. So what he's saying here is that you should not accept somebody who's not qualified. But he said the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such that sometimes by risk the guru will accept people who are not qualified. And again, most people. in my opinion. I mean, I'm not like, in my understanding. And later on, by the mercy of the spiritual master, the disciples gradually elevated. And then he says here that, however, if one increases the number of disciples simply for some prestige or false honor, he will surely fall down in the matter of executing Krishna consciousness. Now someone may say, okay, well here it is. You shouldn't accept disciples if they're not unqualified. Okay, but by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you may, to give them a chance. Alright, that makes sense, right? So this is what Srila Prabhupada's saying about not accepting too many disciples. He doesn't put a number on it. He doesn't say you could only accept 100. He doesn't say only accept 200. There's no number there. It means people are not qualified. But by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, somebody may. Now, aside from that, someone may say, okay, hey, well, maybe some gurus, they're accepting so many disciples based on false prestige and honor. Oh, I have so many disciples, right? I have so many unqualified disciples. I'm just joking. Like, I have so many disciples for some prestige or honor. Now, if we may be thinking that about somebody, whoever it may be, or if anybody's thinking that about somebody, they have to be very careful, because how do they know? How do you know if somebody is accepting disciples, a bunch of disciples, because of false prestige or honor? You can't know, in many ways, in many respects. So we have to be very careful that we don't become critical, because instead of the guru, instead of the person who's the guru, who we think are accepting a whole bunch of unqualified disciples for false prestige and honor, instead of him falling down by that activity, we who are thinking he's doing that, we actually fall down. So, in other words, we see someone as fallen, and we're criticizing them for particular quality, but we actually fall down due to that. So we have to be very careful. So that's what Srila Prabhupada's mentioning in the Nectar Devotion from Rupa Goswami, this point of accepting too many disciples. It's not a question of numbers, and it's not a question of personally training them. Because again, there's no, as far as I've seen, there's no description of the Diksha Guru as personally training his disciples. And we see with Prabhupada too, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the point is not to accept cheap disciples for false prestige and honor. But one may accept cheap disciples with the idea of giving them mercy, to gradually elevate them. So that's what Prabhupada says about not accepting too many disciples. And when it comes down to it, I mean, we're in the material world, so, I mean, I've talked with so many devotees, and of course, they have a saying, right? Every Muni has their opinion, or else they're not a Muni, right? So similarly with devotees, you know, devotees are thinkers, devotees are a bit of Munis, right? And they also have their opinions about this, about that, woman guru, not woman guru, homosexual marriage, allowed in ISKCON, not allowed in ISKCON. So many different ideas are there. So when it comes down to it, what Srila Prabhupada wants, who's the founder of Charya, okay, fine, everybody has a different idea, more or less. Of course, not on absolutely every topic, but there are some topics, there's different ideas. But what Srila Prabhupada wants, which is one of his deepest desires actually, is for us to come together as a spiritual family and put aside all of our differences and come together and engage in hearing and chanting about Krishna. Because that we cannot disagree on. And by the way, that is the most important thing in life anyways. Hearing and chanting about Krishna. And we all could agree on that, right? I mean, actually, not even that really. We can't even agree on that. Oh, he's singing a tune, it's not a traditional Vedic tune, and that's not good, right? Or we should only sing Vedic tunes, right? Or whatever. Or, oh, he's singing a tune which is whatever, it goes vice versa, back and forth. Or he's got a djembe in the kirtan. No, it should only be mridanga in the kirtan, right? So it's very difficult in Kali Yuga. But somehow or other, we should all get together and just chant Hare Krishna. And in this way, we'll actually please Srila Prabhupada, and we'll actually have more of a chance of having some effect on people in general. Why? Because by our developing that purity that comes from hearing and chanting, we'll have more effect. And to the degree we surrender to the simple process of Krishna consciousness, to the degree we get the result. Right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sadaiva bhajamiham. I reward them accordingly. Everybody follows my path. So there's a very nice quote that I read the other day. I'm reading the 11th canto of the srimadbhagavatam, my personal reading, and I believe it's in the purport, or it's in this book I'm reading alongside Borijan Prabhu's. It's a study guide of the 11th canto, but it's a really nice quote from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in relation to this. So hopefully you think it's nice, or inspiring. So I'll read it here. It says, when a person eats, with each mouthful he feels happier, more nourished, and no longer hungry. As a person who eats just a little, right? Let's say you're really hungry. Let's say you're really hungry this morning, but then the breakfast, not enough or something. As a person who eats just a little, gets a little satisfaction. Okay, little satisfaction. And a little nourishment. And some relief from hunger. So a person who worships just a little through hearing and chanting gets a little experience of the Lord and a little detachment from the material world. On the other hand, a person who eats a lot becomes fully satisfied, is fully nourished, and finds complete relief from his hunger. Just as a person who worships the Lord fully experiences the Lord fully and becomes completely detached from material life. It's impossible to eat without cessation, but one can worship the Lord without cessation. The more one worships, the more one is satisfied. And that is the difference between the mundane and the example and the transcendental reality. So it's saying that if we just worship Krishna a little, or a little concentration, or a little whatever, then we just get a little experience of Krishna, and we get a little detachment from material life. And if we worship Krishna a lot, then we get full experience of Krishna, and we get full detachment from material life. Just as if one eats while they're very hungry, they eat just a little, then they'll get a little nourishment, a little satisfaction, and little cessation of their hunger. But if one eats fully when they're hungry, then they'll get full nourishment, satisfaction, like that. So it really depends on the individual what they want. If they want a little Krishna, they'll get a little Krishna, not little Krishna like the cartoon. Cartoon. They get a little Krishna, then they'll get a little detachment, a little experience, if they want that. But if they want a lot, then they'll get full. So it's really up to us. So really, Krishna consciousness is somehow or other, by miracle, coming to the stage that we just want Krishna fully, and then we will actually get Krishna fully. So, but somehow or other we have to come to that stage. And this is actually how we will, if we fully engage in Krishna consciousness, this is how we could actually do some damage, to the material world. Means we could do some heavy preaching. Means have some effect on human civilization. Because people, intelligent people, sincere people, they're not looking for lukewarm people. They're looking for fired up people. And if they don't see people are fired up, then they're just not interested. I rather just go join the Navy. They're a little bit more enthusiastic or whatever. I rather just work my way up to the top of the CEO or something. It's more enthusing. It seems that, anyways. Then. So the last thing is that in the Antya Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 2, 13 and 14 text, Srila Prabhupada or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't able to meet everyone of the world personally. And therefore what he did is he invested his Shakti, he invested his energy into his pure devotees. That just by meeting these pure devotees, people would get inspired, and people would feel that, in other words, they become Krishna conscious. So that's what happened to us. So we also have to become like that in relation to shelter. We have to become empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in such a way that we could actually affect people. And in this way, we could also, which we're meant to be, we could be like a shelter for people, and but we should also have a shelter, right? Prabhupada said, first become a disciple, then maybe think about becoming a guru. And it's not so easy to be a disciple, so it takes a lot of work. So does anyone have any questions? All right, Damodar Kumar, and then Davis, Ganga Prem. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sounds nice. Prabhupada would sometimes change his secretaries or servants because generally when someone becomes too close, they become too familiar, become offensive, actually. So in many ways, actually, it's could be detrimental for a disciple to become too close, means physically, to the guru. Think, oh, this guy's just an ordinary guy. I mean, he knows a little more than me, but it's just kind of... Yeah. Yeah. You have something, Davis?
Yeah, question. I'm in the process of
Formulating your question?
formulating, no, I'm in the process of doing a list of questions and reading something for initiation. And there's a lot of good ones. One of them I love that I have a shakti answer for what is our relation, what is our eternal relationship with Prabhupada after the time of initiation? What is that initiation of being, how does that affect our eternal relationship with Srila Prabhupada?
Well, we sing that song, right? Chakudan Dilale, he's my Lord, birth after birth. Right? And Prabhupada to say statements, there'll be another ISKCON in the spiritual world. Yeah. I mean, there's a quote because we accept what, I mean, we quote Prabhupada so much, and of course he's quoting scripture, and we could go back to that. But there's this Vyasa Puja book. I think it was last year's book actually, and it actually discusses the relationships that devotees have with the spiritual master and so on after death. So there's some quotes from Prabhupada. I could show it to you, so you could read it personally. Yeah, I was just reading it earlier actually. You have something, Granga Prem? Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. There's the father while they're, young, very young, and then there's the husband, right? While they're married. And then when the husband takes sannyas, then there's the older son. That's what Prabhupada mentioned. So, yeah, that's the three, so. Yeah. All right. How long? Since what year? Since what year? Since what year were you producing it?
Well, I've always done regular now.
Oh, okay.
But before that, I was editing and writing. So I wrote the introduction, and it deals exactly with this point of what the relationship of the disciple is now. The Prabhupada has got with their own guru, and Prabhupada. So I can close to 11 count, and Prabhupada in his address,
Jai. Alright, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.